Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I am your host and CEO of Vitality OET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you start experiencing so many changes in this time of your life, whether that be hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, and of course, weight gain around the middle that seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere despite you not changing anything. So you go back to your regular ways of losing weight, cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet this time it seems like nothing is working. You are more and more exhausted and things actually start moving in the wrong direction. But we know now that your body is inherently different than what it was prior to you experiencing these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to really help you understand what happens in this time of your life. How does your body change? That way you can finally reach your health and fitness goals, live a life full of vitality, feel in control and at home in your body again, and really understand how to take care of this new body. So today is a good one, you guys. I'm in one of those moods where I'm just like, oh, we are going to talk about some good stuff today. So first of all, we're going to be talking about why your diet stopped working in menopause. Just like I mentioned in the intro, what is going on? The things that work don't work anymore. You're gaining weight around the middle, even though not much has changed. What is going on? So first, I want to talk briefly about what perimenopause is, what actually happens, and then we're going to talk about why those diets stopped working a little bit more closely, and then talk about what you can do, because this is a conversation I have with women so regularly, and I think it's just a good reminder. I kind of teased about some of these things in the past. I definitely did an episode very, very early on, but we're like in the 60s of the episodes now. So I wanted to kind of do a really good, full encompassing thing where it really ties everything together. So first of all, what is perimenopause? What is menopause? Because it's not talked about enough, which is insane to me because it literally happens to every single woman on the face of this planet. So how do we not talk about this stuff more? So maybe this sounds a little bit like you. You have changed nothing. Yet somewhere around your 45th birthday or earlier, or maybe later, or maybe you had surgery. Just it seems like all of a sudden you can't sleep. You're getting hot all the time. You've gained weight, particularly around the middle. You can't focus on things. You're more moody. You're more irritable. And you just don't feel like yourself anymore. You feel like the things that you used to love, you're just not loving anymore. You feel like maybe your hair is starting to thin, your skin isn't as great, your libido is out the window. And this, my friends, is perimenopause and menopause. So what is going on in this time leading up into menopause? So menopause is 1 full year without a cycle. Perimenopause is the years leading up to it. It can be 1 year. It can be up to 10 years long. And then postmenopause is you've been through one year without a cycle, and now you're postmenopausal. So leading up into that 1 year where you don't have a cycle, there's a lot of stuff going on for years and years before that. And how long you're in this phase is going to be determined on quite a few different things. So basically there are 3 cells that make hormones in the follicles of our ovaries. One's going to be making testosterone and androgens, one's going to be working on making estrogen, and one produces progesterone. Since we are born with all of our follicles, eventually we are going to run out. We pass that wonderful reproductive prime. We lose those cells that produce the hormones in our body. So sometimes we might have those follicles producing a lot of hormones. Some days it'll be super weak. So this is where we start having like irregular periods and we start having all these crazy symptoms. Some days you might have a ton of estrogen and other days you might have none. And you feel crazy. You feel out of control. You don't know what's going on. Eventually things will settle down once you get to that postmenopausal stage, but it can be quite the roller coaster that lasts like 10 years. And I'm really tired of doctors and stuff being like, you just got to ride it out. This is how it is now. This is menopause. It'll get better eventually. You'll be fine. Nothing to be concerned about. No, you should be concerned about it. If it's affecting your quality of life, if you don't feel like yourself, if you're not happy, like, you know, there's things different in your body. You don't feel like yourself. You know yourself. So it's important to you. It should be important to your doctor. So how can we really address these things, because sometimes we have really high highs with estrogen and progesterone. Sometimes it'll be really low lows. So we have these crazy peaks and valleys. It's an insane roller coaster. So how can we level out these highs and lows so the mountains aren't quite as high, the peaks aren't quite low? It feels more like, a little kiddie roller coaster. It's manageable. You don't feel like throwing up at the end of it. You're not having everything feel awful, like we're just trying to settle things down for you. And the biggest thing, again, is going to be reducing stress. I know you guys have heard me say this a million times, and you can't always remove stress from your body or from your life. You can't always meditate or do yoga. That's not really my jam either. And that's fair. So we need to make sure that we are learning how to buffer stress appropriately, because when we go through perimenopause and menopause and those hormones start to drop, what happens is estrogen and progesterone, as they're coming down, they really help buffer that cortisol, that stress. So now we have a lower threshold. Before we could handle a 9 out of 10 on stress. Now we can only handle a 5 out of 10 on the stress scale before we start to see cortisol go up. So what used to be tolerable for our body now is no longer a thing. We can't do things like we used to. So we need a lot less stress in our life to see the same increase in cortisol. So again, instead of a 9 out of 10, now it's a 5 out of 10. So when cortisol levels go up, we are going to see a whole terrible crap load of issues that really negatively impact our estrogen levels. It's going to decrease our progesterone levels. It can even decrease our testosterone levels. It can increase our insulin resistance. We have this crazy roller coaster that gets even more crazy, and we have more aggressive symptoms. We see our thyroid function go down when that happens. And our thyroid is what really controls our metabolism, how many calories our body likes to burn at rest. So as that slows down, metabolism slows down, we burn less calories. If our body sucks at burning calories, it's really hard to lose weight. We see our gut health and liver function become negatively influenced when cortisol is high. So that's also going to influence our hormone levels and our thyroid function, making metabolism slower, and you burn less calories at rest, making it a lot harder to lose weight. Your blood sugar control gets worse, which again makes it harder to lose weight. But there is more. And like I talked about this in the last podcast, hormones can absolutely 100% be part of the reason that you can't lose weight. And anyone who tells you your hormones are not the issue is massively miseducated. Studies show when estrogen secretion is reduced due to perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, or surgical menopause, you are going to have drastic changes in your body composition. There are changes to the way your energy and lipid metabolism actually functions. So your body is actually unable to burn calories as well. It is harder for your body to actually utilize those calories. So you end up storing more fat. Your body slowly ends up turning into this hybrid car. You're very fuel efficient. You're not good at burning fuel. You're not good at burning calories. So you end up being more like a hybrid car instead of a diesel truck, which a diesel truck is very good at burning calories. And of course, it's going to make it really hard to lose weight. Then we start seeing sarcopenia, which also happens with a decrease in estrogen secretion, which is a loss of muscle mass. And this is a huge problem that people don't even realize is such a huge problem. So we know that when we lose muscles, we are going to have a much harder time managing our blood sugar control, which we know already is an issue when estrogen goes down. So if we're losing muscle mass too, our body has less cells for our body to shuttle sugars to. We have a much harder time controlling our blood sugars. We also know muscle burns a lot of calories at rest. So if we are losing muscle mass, we're burning even less calories. And we know we're already having a calorie burning issue. Our body is already not good at it. So by losing muscle mass, it's even harder to lose weight because our body sucks at burning calories. It's this crazy cycle that just keeps happening. And then also studies show that there's going to be a change in your fat distribution, the menopause belly. There's actually science behind this. You start seeing an increase in your body fat percentage and an increase in visceral fat, which is fat around your organs. So again, around your middle. So we start seeing that tire around our belly, which we're all so uncomfortable with. So then we're losing muscle mass. We're seeing our fat distribution change. We are seeing an accumulation of body fats, and our body fat percentage increases quite a bit. And then when this happens, we're going to see an increase in our free fatty acid release in our body, which makes us even more insulin resistant, which we're already struggling with. We're struggling with blood sugars because our muscle mass is decreasing. our estrogen is decreasing, our stress is going up. And when cortisol goes up, it dumps sugar into our bloodstream. And that's going to happen when we're cutting carbs, when we're fasting, when we're skipping meals, when we're doing a bunch of cardio. All those things will also result in muscle loss. Okay, which again, we do not want, because this is already something that's really happening here. And our post-menopausal body also just doesn't properly use energy sources the way it used to. Our body is more predisposed to store fat. And how do I know this stuff? Why should I trust you, Steph? You seem too young to know these things, right? I get this all the time. You're pregnant. You're clearly not, you're not menopausal. No, I'm not. But I have dedicated my entire life to this. I have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in the past 3 years alone. And that doesn't even include the university degrees that I did quite a few years ago. I'm talking about just the past 3-ish years. I have spent well over $100,000 to better understand female metabolism, to get mentors who specifically work in this area, read the studies, read the books, go to conferences, get extra certifications, because it's incredibly beyond me that this is something that happens to every single woman on the planet, yet nobody seems to care. So I have dedicated so much time, so much money. I am very passionate about it, to really help us understand what is going on to the female body once these hormonal changes start to happen, because it's important to know. It literally happens to every woman. Like, how it just blows my mind that nobody cares. And why do people not talk about this more? Because most people are not interested enough in it. That's what it comes down to. They literally still think it's just calories in, calories out, how much you eat, how much you exercise. I think it is very clear, if you've been listening to any of my content, whether it be the podcast or anything like that, that's not the thing. That's why those simple macro plans don't work. This is why coaching is not just a once a week check-in and getting your macros and food adjusted. There is a big learning curve. There is a lot that we have to teach you, a lot of resources that we provide for you. This is why I give you guys so much free stuff, because there is so much to know and there's not enough people who actually understand it, which is a huge problem. And I'm still learning stuff all of the time, because I'm continuously always doing more certifications, meeting more people, getting in the right rooms, going to the conferences, because more people need to understand this. So coaching is not just, oh, I want a once a week check-in and tell you what my macros need to change. We need to see, how's your sleep, how's your energy, how's your digestion, doing different hormonal symptom assessments and metabolic assessments to really see, how is your body responding? Are we seeing changes that we want? How is your body's, how are you structuring your food? You need to understand what you need, because understanding ratios of things, or the way we plan foods, or how often to eat, is going to vary person to person. But these things all matter because of everything I just listed before. We're becoming more insulin resistant. We're losing muscle mass. Our cortisol levels are making all of this significantly worse. And we are living in a constant state of fight or flight, where we're just stressed all the time and we think we're managing it okay, but it doesn't matter. Your body is still going through all these processes. This is why there are specialized programs and specialized coaches and specialized certifications for this exact area. And research is just now starting to catch up to what we have already been telling people for years. Because the truth is, it takes 15 to 25 years for studies to actually get pushed into proper medical practice. And this is why most doctors don't actually know and understand this stuff, because unless they are super interested in it and they're paying attention to up-to-date studies, they're not going to know about it. I mean, studies have literally just been coming out in the last 3 or 4 years, which is insane. So guess what? The other thing is, people study and they research the things they're interested in. Newsflash, in case you haven't noticed, most doctors don't give a crap about menopause. So this is why it's really important to understand these things, find people who are interested in it, are doing the work, are doing the hands-on stuff, because we get to see this in real time. And I already talked about a lot of this stuff last week with issues with hormonal imbalances and how that can make things really, really hard to lose weight. I think how I just described things also makes you realize it's a lot more complicated than people say it is. It's not just calories in, calories out in a simple macro plan. That's not something that we do. We spend a lot of time talking to our clients, looking at what they're eating, helping them make switches, paying attention to how that's affecting their digestion and their energy, and making sure things are in a solid place. Because as you can see, you're already predisposed to your body not working efficiently. And a body that's not working properly is going to hold on to fat. So we need to make sure that we are getting your body to function the way that it needs to, so you can actually go into a fat loss phase. Otherwise, you're never going to be successful. You're just going to keep following the same macro plans and calories in, calories out. And you wouldn't be listening to this if you weren't struggling. You've tried those things, you know it doesn't work. So you need to do things differently. So you know a little bit about the hormonal imbalance stuff, because I've talked about it in the past. I just talked about it now. But now I need to talk about how you were on a diet and why those don't work anymore. Or you did see progress and now you're stuck and it seems like you can't get anywhere. But in order to really understand why your diets aren't working right now, like, yes, we've talked a little bit about your body. We've talked a little bit about your hormones, but we really need to understand what has happened to your body up until this point. And we're going to talk about all the past diets you've done before, because on average, women do at least 2 diets a year. At least 2 fad diets of some sort, whether it's the Weight Watchers or little containers or Optavia, or, there's all those different kind of cool names and different things, and low carb and Atkins and Jenny Craig and all of those things, right? But they didn't work because you wouldn't be here if they did. So we need to understand what all those things in the past have done now, so you can better understand your body even more, to understand what you need. Because if you don't understand why you're doing something or what your body actually needs, good luck trying to continue following that. You're not going to stick to it because you don't understand it. So I have a incredible visual representation of what I'm going to talk about next, about past dieting and how that's affected your body, particularly with perimenopause and menopause and your hormones. But I think having a visual really helps, as I'm going to go through some of the things, but I have a graph that shows you what happens with each diet that you've done. I adapted it from a course that I took through Nutrition Dynamics. They are incredibly versed in hormone health. They have helped me a lot through this process. I get to work under learn from some of the most amazing doctors who have completely dedicated their life to this kind of stuff. Like Dr. Carrie Jones, amazing. So go follow her on Instagram if you don't. She is phenomenal. And I think you will see where I get a lot of my stuff from, the educational aspects, things like that. She's involved with Dutch testing. She is amazing. But like I said, I adapted a graph from that course for you guys to be able to look at and really understand what happens to your body fat, your metabolism, calorie burn, your fat mass, all those things with all the diets that you've done. So first thing is first, yo-yo dieting is one of the biggest hormonal disruptors out there because it's going to stress your body a ton. Okay. Yo-yo dieting, chronic dieting, eating low calorie for a very long time, all these things count for this. Okay. But basically, your body is going to become less and less responsive every time you diet because it's learned to be more adaptive, which is what your body does. Your body becomes smarter, and it requires more work if you do not do this properly, which, of course, no diet has ever taught you how to do, because then, of course, you would never come back, right? That's every diet's plan. Look at the Weight Watchers and all those other guys, right? You are stuck there, you're doing it. Then you gain some weight back, then you go back because it quote unquote worked, right? It worked that first time. So this has got to be the answer. I just fell off track. Those things aren't realistic half the time. And I think you need to understand what all these past diets have done. So it causes hormonal misalignment. I talked about yo-yo dieting, chronic dieting, low calorie is a huge hormonal disruptor because it stresses your body out. And I've used this analogy before, your Jenga tower, where we have the 3 blocks and we're crisscrossing, right? Every time you diet, you are pulling your body into hormonal imbalances, okay? So we see the Jenga tower, we're getting blocks taken out of it, becomes very unstable. And when you are in a fat loss phase, you're cutting your calories, you're doing a bunch of cardio, a bunch of exercise, whatever, all that stuff, plus the regular stressors of life, that Jenga tower is very susceptible to falling over. You apply a little bit of stress to the side and it'll fall over. Whereas if we're in wonderful hormonal alignment, all the blocks are stacked nicely. And it's much harder to push that tower over because it's solid. Things are working efficiently. There's good communication between block and block, lots of contact. Okay, so it can bounce back. But every time that you ding the system by doing a diet or eating low calorie, whatever it may be, your body becomes more adaptive. So what we see is first you drop your calories, right? Think of the first diet you ever did. It was probably fairly successful, right? You drop your calories. At first, your body is slow to catch up to that drop in calories. So you start seeing a loss of weight because calories drop down. Eventually, metabolism will slow down with it. So if you're on YouTube or you're watching a clip of this, it's very helpful to see. But let's say your maintenance is 2,200 to 2,400 calories. That's my maintenance. For reference, I'm 5'5" and 145 pounds. This was pre-pregnancy. I'm still that weight, but like pre-pregnancy, that's my maintenance, 2,200, 2,400. Okay, for me to lose weight, I need to be below that. So let's say I ate 1,800 calories. Okay, so I'm sitting at 1,800 calories, but slowly my metabolism's going to slide over and my 1,800 calories will eventually become my maintenance. And this is because your body adapts to the stimulus that you're giving it, which is less food. Our body wants to stay in maintenance all the time, homeostasis. So it's going to have all these internal pressures, even though you're like, I'm eating less and moving more. Your thyroid function starts to slow down. Hormonal changes start to happen internally to try and balance in, calories out. So now your metabolism has slowed down. So now your maintenance is, let's say 1,750 to 1,950. Now you're stuck and you're like, oh man, my diet's not working anymore. What do? I guess I'll drop my calories again. So you drop your calories again. And so now you start seeing some changes maybe. But again, your metabolism starts to slow down. Then you see no changes because now you're at 1,500 calories. Now that's your maintenance. And you do this again. And now your maintenance is 1,200 calories. And now you're stuck because we can't go any lower. Because if you go lower, that's lower than the amount of calories that your body needs in order to function. Okay, and I'm talking about calories needed to keep your heart beating, your lungs breathing, and your diaphragm moving, and your blood circulating, and your brain stem, your nervous system, your hormone production, everything you need to just survive. You hit a point where you can't go much lower. And it's a higher number than you think, always. Okay, so that's something to be very, very important and aware of because then things really start to fall apart. So then you're like, well, crap, I'm here. What do? I still have weight to lose. And then most of you guys, it's not sustainable eating that low calorie, right? So then you have, I'm just gonna go back to eating normal. So you jump back up to, let's say, even 1,800 calories. But now it's a 600 calorie difference as to where your maintenance is. So of course you're going to gain weight. And then you might try and drop down again after a couple months, right? Like you don't wait that long before trying to lose weight again. So what happens is you haven't done anything to bring your metabolism back up so that when you eat less, your body will actually lose body fat. So, and typically what's happening when we're seeing this low calorie intake and we're seeing weight loss, it's weight loss. It's not fat loss. Most women are going to see a loss of fat or a loss of muscle as well. So you might actually just look like a smaller version of yourself. You might not have like any muscle definition despite working out in the gym. You feel like you still have like a belly. It's still soft. It's not the way that you want to look. But you also need to realize that you lost weight, not fat. So you probably lost the same amount of muscle mass and fat mass, or maybe a little bit more muscle than fat. So then your body fat percentage actually stayed the same or it's increased. So you are just a smaller version of yourself, but you don't look fit and toned like you want. Okay. So what is the fix here? How do we do this? Because now your metabolism has slowed down so much. And even though you're exercising a ton, you're not burning enough calories because your body has, again, all these internal systems that are going to want to keep things the same. So it's just going to keep slowing down your metabolism. So what the heck do we do to bring your metabolism back up so that you can actually lose that weight? Because we can all agree that where you're at and what you're doing right now is not working. Eating lower and then having to keep that is not sustainable. It's not realistic. So how do we do this? Because now you've lost muscle mass, our metabolism has slowed down. Now we're seeing our hormones are all over the place because this kind of dieting process that we've been taught how to do, because that's how we're supposed to do it, right? We're going to see that increases your cortisol levels. Your thyroid function slows down. Your leptin goes down. So your body sucks at burning fat. Estrogen starts to fluctuate. Your androgens can go up. Your testosterone can go down. Your progesterone can go down. And your body composition just seems to get worse and worse and worse. And you feel like crap. You're exhausted. You're not sleeping. You're tossing and turning. You're having hot flashes and night sweats. You start experiencing more bloating and gut health issues that you never had before. Libido is gone. And then, bam, you hit perimenopause and menopause. Because many of you have been dieting for years prior to experiencing these hormonal changes, right? So we know yo-yo dieting has done a huge number to your metabolism. We know that your hormones have been really pushed out of whack during that process. Our body is getting worse at burning fat. We seem to be losing muscle mass and having a harder time putting it on. And then you hit perimenopause. That puts you into an even further misalignment. The drop in your hormones tends to be more aggressive, which can then cause weight gain, more fluid retention, you feeling like garbage. And your hormones just go into even further misalignment. And then you get all the wonderful things I talked about at the beginning of this podcast, like your body just sucks at burning fuel. And you start compacting more fat around your organs and your belly. So that can't be good, right? We know that hormones are going to play a huge issue here and that the yo-yo dieting has made things worse, yet we're trying to lose weight by continuing to do the same things that we know are just going to make things worse and worse and worse. So what is the answer? How do you get that metabolism back up? You have to slowly increase your calories. And I know this sounds absolutely horrific and so terrifying. And you're like, Steph, are you actually telling me to eat more food? How the heck is that supposed to help me? Well, let me walk you through this. So if you're on YouTube again, you can watch my hands, and this kind of stuff is always helpful. Again, I have a bit of a visual representation in the Facebook group as well. But okay, so you're at the 1,200 to 1,400 calories. So we have a maintenance range, but we also know that you've lost a lot of muscle. In order for us to build muscle back up, because we know when estrogen goes down, we have a very hard time with this. We need to make sure that we are resistance training appropriately. We need to make sure that we are focusing on decreasing our stress appropriately through diet, making sure we're prioritizing sleep and recovery, doing things to purposely self-care, like take care of yourself. Because if cortisol goes up, it breaks down your muscle mass. It's also going to push your hormones into all kinds of crappy situations. We need to make sure we're eating enough food and enough carbohydrates. If you're not eating enough carbohydrates, your body will break down muscle for energy. We do not want that. Okay, you need to be making sure that you're having enough carbohydrates. This is also going to help with your thyroid function and to bring cortisol levels down, which will also help improve your metabolism. Okay, so those are huge things. Like those are very huge rocks. So we are 1,200 to 1,400. We're going to try and push you up into that higher part of your maintenance. So maybe you're eating at like 1,350. Eventually, slowly, your metabolism is going to come up with it. Just like it came down, it'll come back up. So then we got to stay there for a little bit. Then we bump you up again. So usually this looks like 50 to 100 calories a week-ish. The slower you go, the longer it's going to take you to where you need to be. But your risk of seeing any weight gain is much lower. If you are resistance training, this is going to make it even better result for you for body composition wise, because your body is utilizing those carbohydrates and the calories to put it towards muscle so you can finally look fit and toned again. We're improving that body composition to see muscle mass increase and see fat mass decrease. Okay, so slowly increasing. You can jump straight up if you want. You might be able to get into a fat loss phase sooner, but your chances of gaining fat are much higher. So there's no right or wrong way. There's just trade-offs. That's something Layne Norton told me, which I loved. There's no right or wrong answers. There are just trade-offs. You can go slowly, reduce the risk of gaining weight, but you are going to take significantly longer to get to a point where you can go into a proper fat loss phase, or you jump up quickly, potentially see fat loss, but can go into a fat loss phase sooner. So what this looks like, again, is increasing calories slowly, 50 to 100 calories a week, increasing slowly. The first things that you should notice is gym performance increases. You're going to have more energy. You're going to get stronger in the gym. You will be sleeping better. Hormonal symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats will improve. Typically, digestion is going to improve drastically as well. Those are the changes you will always feel and see before you see any body composition changes. Putting on muscle takes time. So for example, Coach Amy was sharing a story with me yesterday with one of her clients. She took 6 months of slowly increasing those calories. She actually pushed up into a surplus, a little bit higher of where we expected her maintenance to be. She spent 6 months. We focused on proper resistance training. She also drastically improved her posture because she deals with scoliosis. And her pictures look amazing. Posture is better. She's clearly lost some fat and she's definitely put on muscle. You can definitely tell. But that was a 6-month process. So now she's in a position where she can now go into a fat loss phase because we've done the work to put on the muscle mass, improve hormonal symptoms, balance out those hormones, improve energy, improve digestion, stress tolerance is better. She's doing the self-care. Food timing looks great, so we're not having crashes and cravings and things like that. And her body has been up high enough where now her body can forget the low calorie stuff that she used to do. Because remember how I said every time you ding the system, your body gets smarter? If you're not up in your calorie intake for long enough, dropping your calorie intake, your body's metabolism will move down very quickly with it. Because remember how I said your metabolism will slowly come down? If you have a history of lots of diets and eating low calorie for a long time, your metabolism will drop down quite quickly compared to other people. So we need to make sure that you are up high enough for a longer period of time so that your body won't adapt quickly, because there is nothing worse than cutting your calories and seeing no changes. That is awful. Like if I'm going to purposely be eating less food, I want to see changes. But I know that I have to wait for a certain amount of time before I can do that. So it takes time. You have to set yourself up. The most successful people that we see take the time to do a proper reverse, increasing those calories slowly over time, really focusing on self-care and exercising the right way. Those people, if you can dedicate 4 to 6 months to that, you are going to be successful. You're going to do great. But that takes time and consistency, okay? It's not going to be an overnight thing. Think of all the years that you spent doing harm to your body in terms of you're slowing down your metabolism. You didn't even know you were doing that. You were pulling your hormones out of balance and you didn't even know you were doing that. We're talking decades. So it's going to take time. This is not going to be a 6-week thing, a 3-month thing. Like this is going to take time. And because of where you're at with your hormonal symptoms and where your body's at with perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause, it is going to take longer, which is infuriating when you can see male counterparts just cut some carbs and do some running and they look great. Lucky them, they have testosterone and different hormones. Their physiology is a little bit different that way. Their body's more tolerant to stress. We can't do that. Remember I said cutting calories is a stress, cutting carbs is a stress, doing a bunch of cardio is a stress. All those things increase cortisol and break down muscle mass. That's all going to slow down your metabolism. And we're much more sensitive to that whole process, whereas men, unfortunately, are not having to struggle with that. They're not as sensitive. So they'll typically go through things a lot quicker. They'll see changes a lot quicker, which again, infuriating, but that's just unfortunately the science of physiology, how it works. So I know that was a lot. I know that you're probably giving yourself a hard time right now being like, I cannot believe how much I messed up my body. I cannot believe that just because my hormones are here, that I am more likely to lose muscle and struggle with my blood sugars and put on belly fat. Like, yeah, that it does suck. It does, but do not be hard on yourself because nobody taught you. There were not doctors who specialized in this 10 years ago. This is a very new area. And anyone who tells you and gaslights you and saying that this isn't an issue, the hormones aren't the problem, that your metabolism isn't slow, they're making excuses for you, like they're making excuses and making it your fault due to their ignorance, which is not okay. And unfortunately, there are a lot of coaches out there that'll do that. They're just going to give you a macro plan and calories and do the odd check-in every week or every other week. They're not going to understand these things, these concepts. They're not going to know what to look for, the indications, who to reach out to for help if they do need help. This is why we have a team of 10 with women who have so many different specialty areas. We all have like our little thing that we really love, right? Like our doula, Brittany, she is great with estrogen stuff, great with pelvic floor. She has a ton of experience and lots of extra education, right? But each of us has our little thing. You know, some of us have more mobility strength training and more strength training. Some of us have, you know, we really focus on stress stuff. That's like obviously my jam. I love that. I love teaching, communication. So we all have little areas that we really, really love, but we understand how everything works together. And unfortunately, that's not very common. That's why we have coaches reaching out to us all the time asking if we do mentorships, because they don't know where to find this information. And to get the information, unfortunately, is very expensive right now because there's a few very small areas that kind of pigeonhole it all. This is why I give you guys so much information for free, because it has cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars to get here. And I do not think that it should cost the average person that much money to understand what's going on in their body, to understand how to take care of themselves, to understand that they are not crazy, that this is not necessarily their fault. Are there choices that you've made that you got to take responsibility for those consequences? Absolutely. But if nobody teaches you, if nobody tells you how your body works, or how to anticipate these changes, or how the dieting that you've done for 15, 20 years before this happens, how that can impact you for the rest of your life, how were you supposed to know? The health and fitness industry has done such a disservice of just calories in, calories out, just to check in and adjusting your calories and macros. No, because otherwise we would not be in the position that we are right now. We would not be seeing hundreds and thousands of millions of women struggling with weight, with energy, being exhausted, feeling like they're at their wits' end and desperate, and just going and hoping that the next coach will somehow have the magic calorie intake that they need, or the macros that they need. It is more complex than that. This is why it's necessary to have multiple assessments to really understand your body. Because if they don't understand your body, how the heck are you supposed to? And if they don't teach you, you will never learn. You'll end up in the exact same position. So I know that was a little bit ranty today, but this is so important to understand how your body functions. Menopause and hormones absolutely are a driving cause of why you are struggling. That does not mean you cannot improve it, because we do it with women all of the time. But I promise you, it's not going to be a 3-month journey. It is going to take longer, and you just have to decide if that's worth it, or you would rather stay where you are right now. And like I said, I will help you figure out what are those maintenance calories need to get to. Are you having too many carbs or not enough? How quickly or slowly do you have to bring up those calories? How long do you need to stay there for? What should your meal timing look like? Do we need to adjust your exercise to really make sure we're not losing muscle mass and that you're buffering stress the right way? I do this for every single woman who messages me, and I will continue to do this for every single woman who messages me. Will it take me time sometimes to get to you? Because yes, I have a lot of messages, but this is so, so important to me. It is so important for vitality. This is what we stand for. We just want to help you. So message me and I will do that. And if you can share this with any woman that you know that is struggling and feels like they're going crazy and have no control over their body, please send it to them so they find some comfort. I hope this was helpful. I hope this provided you with some information. You might have to listen to it a couple times. And again, if you want more personalized help understanding this and your specific body, just message me and I will help you. No questions asked. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.